What's up, Raider Nation? We are back with another installment of the show. We're going to talk today and focus on the offense and the hiring of Klint Kubiak. So I hope everybody's excited. We're going to break it down. And I got some guests with me who know the game, know the team, can help me really get into this and make it easy for everybody to understand. And let's get excited because I think we made a good hire, right? That's my opinion. We got Ritter Twine, we got Wester, the usual crew. So let's start with Twine. What you think, man? What you think about this hire, Klint Kubiak?
I mean, it seems like they went the opposite of. It seems like we do the opposites every year, right? we get somebody that's inexperienced, and Antonio Pierce, and then we go to somebody with a boatload of experience, and then now we back with someone, that ain't got the experience. And when I say don't got the experience, I'm talking about as a head coach,
right?
But when you look at where we were, what we need, and possibly the things that are coming in, I think Kubiak was the answer. We'll see how it pans out. It's one of those situations where he could be, and I'll give you guys the floor and the ceiling. It could be Andy Reid or Sean McVay, or it could be Josh McDaniels.
Yeah,
good point.
And that's where it's at. We know that Josh McDaniels is, and I've said this as a broken record, Josh McDaniels is a good, you know what I'm saying? And some people may say a great offensive mind. You know what I'm saying? But he's not a head coach. and he had two strikes, and we'll see if the protection by complexion works for him to have another shot at it. You know what I'm saying? But this is what we're going to have to wait and see in regards to Kubiak. We know that he's a great offensive mind. We know that he's a great coordinator. He has proven it. Right. He hasn't proven it as a head coach. And juggling head coach and coordinator is 6'7".
6'7". Hopefully, being a son of the great Gary Kubiak, who was a head coach growing up in those rooms, being around football his whole life that way, prepared him in a way to be be ready for what comes when you're a head coach, right? He does have a lot of coordinator experience successfully, but like you said, so did Josh McDaniels. And some would say this is a third strike because the first strike was Denver. The second strike was turning down the Colts job after accepting it. And then the third strike would have been with the Raiders. So let's just clear the record on that. I just do not like Josh McDaniels. I still offer to fight him at any point. Anytime.
Doesn't he have a punchable face?
Very punchable.
Like, if you saw him, you know what I'm saying? If he just walked past you know what I'm saying? Like, you might just
I'm sorry. I didn't even. Yeah.
He does have one of those punchable faces. Just give him a good punch. Nice, little punch. So for me, right? So getting Klint Kubiak is a signal, that it's a shift toward a modern offensive identity, and it's all rooted in Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay's principles, and it's emphasizing, in play action and outside zone schemes. And, it's kind of an offensive revolution because, Kubiak brings a high efficiency offense that relies on play action and RPOs and balance attack, right? And with our first round, pick, it's expected, that we're going to get Fernando Mendoza, and that's going to establish long-term stability with our franchise, and then it's also a strategic collaboration, because the hiring highlights, a close collaboration between Kubiak, GM John Spytek, and Tom Brady, and it's aiming to align the front office and the coaching staff. And that's also kind of a youth movement also as well, because Kubiak, he's gonna have young players, and within the coaching staff, he's gonna bring a fresh, innovative perspective to our franchise. And the hire, I know it's gonna be a multi-year rebuild, but we're aiming to transform the team into a competitive force with a fresh, modern, and consistent and steady approach to team building. And his hiring, it marks a break from our past, because he is now empowered to build a new culture around a young, dynamic offensive system.
Um, I agree. I think one of the key parts, I think that about the hiring is the fact that it's not the standard retread or somebody who no one else was looking to hire as a head coach. He had other offers. He decided to come here, and I think he came here for a reason, right? Because if you look at what he does with that in that offense, yeah, it's Shanahan based offense, right? His dad, Gary Kubiak, obviously that's where he comes from. But it's more than just Shanahan with extra tight ends. Okay, like he runs the 12 personnel because he's trying to produce certain outcomes, right? Um, he will force zone, right, by the formation, right, and then run a switch release, right, which is zone killer, right. He will, you know, motion the tight end and the receivers to create a matchup where it's going to be man, right, and you've got the tight end singled up on a strong side linebacker, right. That matchup is already won before the snap, right? So like you go look at the tape, he's consistently creating these different situations through formations, through motion, through alignment to make the defense declare what they're doing, and then abusing the rules, right? Um, and so I think it's going to be eye opening to have someone calling plays that actually has a reason, a why behind everything that they're doing, right? Um, and so I'm extremely happy about this bill, right? About this hire and
Yeah.
how it's going to, I think, work with the roster we have, right? Looking at, who we brought into the coaching staff, right? We had Andrew Janako as the offensive coordinator, right? Everybody that came in, Dennison as the offensive line coach, they're just going to reinforce what he's trying to teach. It's cohesive. They're all talented and successful previously. So this coaching staff is full of people that know what they're doing and have proven that they know how to do that, right? Um, you know, having Mike McCoy on as a older person who's been a head coach before, so that he can bounce that off of bounce ideas off of him and reflect on what it's like to be a head coach for the first time, I think was a huge hire as well, right? Because like you were saying, Twan, like he's never been a head coach before. What did you think about us bringing in McCoy? What do you think about the coaching staff that we put around him?
I think I'm not a I think McCoy is like whatever. Like he does have experience, as a head coach. You know what I'm saying? He's been there. I thought, and maybe it's just me. I just thought the coaching staff could have been a little stronger. But I also, on the flip side of that, I have to factor in that the timing of things, right? we're snagging some of these coaches when
Mm-hmm.
it's been dry January. You know what I'm saying? Dry January for coaches. You know what I'm saying? And when I say dry January, I'm just saying that the good meaty coaching acquisitions they already got a job.
Right.
You know, and to be honest with you, I think some of these guys, and I don't know necessarily who specifically, but I think some of these guys in year two
Mm-hmm.
are either going to be out of here or they're going to be relocated. As in, you know, this guy was the offensive, you know what I'm saying? I'll just use as an example. He was the offensive coordinator, but in his second year, we still gonna keep him, but we're gonna keep him and have him be our O-line coach. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain guys that I'm just like, okay, I don't think necessarily that was who they had in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And because it dried up,
Mm-hmm.
they can't snag who they really want to snag.
Right.
So I think there might be some movement, and it might be, hey, we like you, but you
Yeah.
fired, or we like you, and you still got a job.
Right.
Don't keep
Yeah.
keep paying that month's rent. You know what I'm saying? Because we still want you in Vegas. So I think we'll see a clearer vision of where this coaching staff is and where it's going to be in year two.
Mm-hmm.
In year two, I really do feel that because I just
Mm-hmm.
don't. Some of these guys, I'm like, I don't even know how they got the job.
Mm-hmm. Western, what's your thoughts?
So I just want to share something here, stat here about our new head coach, Klint Kubiak here. So when he was the OC for the Seahawks, right? He transformed them from 21st in scoring in 2024 to a top 10 offense, and
Mm-hmm.
he also, gave them a run heavy wide zone uh, scheme, resulting, in that balanced attack that ranked eighth in yards and third in points per game. So with that being said, that's something, that I would like to have, with our team, right? And that's something that I'm very excited to look uh, forward to with his coaching hire. And it's more than just the philosophy, and all that stuff and the culture that he's bringing. Just overall in general, it just feels good to have a experienced head coach. And I'm not trying to knock on Pete Carroll because he's experienced also, but it just feels like he's more in tune with the game and he's not out of touch. And
Right.
then, with our coaching hires, so I'm going to just do a quick rundown of the coaches we have right now currently on our staff. If there's a coaching hire that I miss, please feel free to let me know. So we got our offensive coordinator, Andrew Janoko, who came from the Seahawks, right? And that's my favorite coach. Out of Klint Kubiak's choosing. And the reason why I say that is because the continuity and the chemistry that they have because they've been together with each other for a long time. And then we have our DC, Rob Leonard, special teams coordinator, Joe DeCamilis. I hope I'm saying that right. Our assistant head coach, Mike McCoy, as you just said, hot. I don't really, know like that much about him, but I do know that if that's who Klint Kubiak, wants, then hey, I'm all down, for it because we're not just trying to get this guy to pair with this guy like we did last year and our previous seasons with our head coaching hires. Our offensive line coach, we got Rick Dennison, Brendan's backs coach, Omar Young, offensive game run coordinator, who we just hired recently today, Mario Jebarel. And then we got our pass game coordinator and DBs coach Joe Wood, safeties coach Matt Robinson, linebackers coach Ron Al Williams, and defensive line coach Travis Smith. So I just wanted to, just to say those coaches, just to update, all the people that are watching here, just in case if they're not up to date with their coaching hires. And as I've said, I'm most excited about Andrew Noko with that hiring.
Yeah. No, I think the staff has a lot of, I think, good experience to it. I liked Rob Leonard getting the promotion. I think I'm gonna do a show maybe in the next couple weeks where we'll get to focus on the defense and what I think it's gonna look like under Rob Leonard, right? I think his promotion was due. And a lot of people, have sniffed around, him being a defensive coordinator, and he probably would have got a job pretty quickly. I think his experience in Baltimore under Mike McDonald means we're going to lean towards running something like we saw up there last year in Seattle under McDonald, under Leonard, right? And of course, Max Crosby likes him, so doesn't hurt anything, right? Um, so, bringing Travis Smith back as a D-line coach, I like that move. I think that was smart. I feel like he did a good job with us while he was here. And, having him come in, being someone that everyone's familiar with, including Max, is probably not a bad idea either. I like Janoko. I think Dennison is an important hire. Having a competent offensive line coach who actually knows what they're doing and can get this offensive line blocking is really going to be the key, because we all know, that the worst unit on this or performing unit on this team last year was the offensive line. We had injuries, nobody had time. I think Jeanty was third in the league in forced missed tackles and still averaged under 4 yards a carry. So that says a lot, right? We just, we've got to improve on the offensive line. So Dennison can, bring all that experience and get everybody running that zone properly, right? Then, and luckily this offense doesn't require that we have an all-star cast of physical freaks at offensive line, right? So we're probably closer than we would have been if we would have went with a different kind of setup, right? So that kind of moves us into our next segment. I want to talk about the Seattle personnel and then our personnel, right? What were the roles those different players up there played? How does our roster compare, right? So, like, JSN, right? Went crazy, number one receiver, running a lot of option routes, right? They're moving him around the formation, right? I look at our roster and I go, that's what they're going to do with Brock Bowers, right? They're going to move him around. They're going to create mismatches. He's going to run those same kind of routes you saw JSN running. And he's going to get open, and then he's going to break a ton of tackles. He's going to be harder to deal with because he's going to be doing it from the tight end position in line, and you have to be in base when you try to cover that. He's going to get extra releases off of the hesitation of those linebackers, that extra split second. He's going to rip up the seam and have big plays, right? So I think he actually is, not because he's better, but because of who he is and what position he plays, a better fit for what Kubiak is trying to do in this offense as the number one target. So, Twan, what are your thoughts on that idea of JSN is the number one target? Who do you see as the person that's going to be running those routes, creating that havoc? What are your thoughts on that?
This is where I'm going to slightly disagree with you. And and I'm gonna have to say Trey Tucker.
Okay.
I think honestly, when I look at JSN, because everybody looked at JSN and everybody fell in love with JSN. when I looked at JSN, I saw Trey. Not saying that Trey Tucker is exactly JSN, but I think some of the things that JSN does is what Trey Tucker could do. One of the issues that we had with Trey Tucker was when he first came in, he wasn't a crisp route runner. We saw him run those crisp routes.
Right.
You know, there was some issues, and this is where I was at with Trey, and a lot of people agree with me. Trey was doing, you know what I'm saying, double
bobbling, double
he
catching.
he was catching, but he was double catching. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And he cleaned that up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So his hands got better.
Right.
I think that's if you want to call Trey a poor man's JSN, I think that's where it's at. I think yes. Yeah. That's why I said I partially, will disagree with you, because I think there is some things that Brock Bowers will do, you know what I'm saying, that JSN, route gate wise, but I think Trey Tucker is definitely speed wise and all of that. I think he will definitely fill that role. I'm not saying that Trey's a number one, but I'm just saying what piece can take off,
replicate this.
Some of those shoes, you know what I'm saying? Those are some big shoes. Like we know how good JSN was.
Right.
I think Trey can fit those shoes. If JSN was a 10.5, I think Trey could be like a 10.
Put on an extra pair of socks with them shoes.
Yeah, you might put some socks to fill it out. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's what we're gonna have to do. I don't think it's clearly going to be one person that's going to take some of the key roles of the last Seahawks offense. And on the flip side of that, let me give the flip side.
Yeah,
I think the coach that we have is not going to have to say the offense that I ran last year, the Raiders are going to run exactly that offense.
Exactly.
There's going to be some things that he's going to say. I think, as much as I don't like him, there might be some things that he sees in Dante Thornton where he might be able to pull something out of him and highlight. There might be a very small package for him. You know what I'm saying? So I hope it's a very small package. Just keeping my Raider gospel.
Pause.
But I think it. I think with that being said, I think Trey Tucker is for the bill.
I don't think that's crazy. You know what I mean? I think if he's using that role, he could go nuts because of the speed thing. And I'm high on Trey Tucker. I was high on Trey Tucker when we drafted him originally. So I would not be surprised if Kubiak watched film and goes, like, look at this guy who has a 40-inch vertical, runs a 4.3, catches everything, and can run routes. Maybe we do something to get him the ball more. Could be a thing.
I think, and this is just how I feel about Trey. I think he's more than just taking the top off.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he's more than that.
So, well, it'll be interesting to see if he cast him as Rashid Shaheed or JSN, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's going to be the question. Is he going to be, how's he going to see him as, is he that Z that just takes the top off and widens the safety and opens up the whole middle of the field for Bowers? Or are you, running both of these guys in these routes, kind of switching things up? He likes to be multiple, so I could see that as something that he would like to do, where you don't know who's running that route and from where exactly. And that puts another conflict situation, what he was trying to create in the whole first place, right? So, Western, what do you think? Who do you think is going to be in that role, or is it somebody that we're going to sign in free agency? What are your thoughts about that number one kind of role on offense?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I would love it if Trey Tucker could pan out and be something like JSN. I'm not saying that he can't be, but I just don't see Trey Tucker as a true number one in my eyes right now. I see him as a solid wide receiver 2. But as Chuan said, if he could be our poor man's JSN and and kind of fill into that role, that would be great. I believe that option will be in the free agency. Honestly, I honestly believe that we're going to get number one wideout in during the free agency. I don't know who, but that's how I think that avenue, will take place. And the most excited receiver on our roster currently that I am looking most forward, to like see is Dante Thorne Jr. I'm really really high on that kid. He's tall and fast, and I'm hoping that. Well, I know that Klint Kubiak is gonna do things with him, but I just hope that he's incorporated more into our offense going forward. And I just want to come compare here since we're on this, topic about the Seahawks roster and our roster here. So I just want to just do like a little quick thing here on how Klint Kubiak's Seahawks team, versus our current team we have now. So I'm going to just do like a quick little thing here. So we'll start with quarterbacks, right? He had Sam Darnold, right, who thrived in his scheme. He threw for over 4,000 yards, and he ranked fifth, among the quarterbacks in the NFL, and unfortunately we have Geno Smith, who many Raider fans have different opinions on, right? But the Raiders are expected, to draft for Nando Mendoza with that first pick. So with Mendoza and Sam Darnold, I would give Sam Darnold the tip of my cap here because the experience of like all that, right? But this might just be my Raider bias here, saying I wouldn't put Fernando Mendoza that far off from Sam Darnold because I believe that he has the tools and the talent to
definitely higher ceiling too.
Oh yeah, yes, right. And then also so with the running backs, right? They had Kent Walker, right, and they also incorporated Zach Charbonnet as well, and that helped the Seahawks team improve to the 10th best rushing attack in the NFL, and we have Jeanty. So I will give it to them because they have more of a durable and more depth in their running back group than we do. And then tight ends, we have the better tight ends, than they do. Wide receiver wise, they have more depth, but we have more speed. And so basically we have our Brock Bowers, who I'm gonna say is our number one target, and then they have JSN, who is their top offensive target and weapon, and then they have a better defense than us.
Fair. Okay. I would say, I think Jeanty in this offense is going to be at a different level than we could see from Walker. Walker is explosive, and but he just doesn't have the kind of contact balance and vision that you see from Jeanty. I think Jeanty sees stuff before it happens, right? And that's going to be huge in this system. And then the contact balance, he's going to be running through muddy lines, breaking arm tackles, and then he can take that house. So, and he can catch out of the backfield. I think not declaring what you're going to do by who's in the backfield, right? Like Seattle kind of had to do, right? Is important. And I think that, the extra little yards here, the broken tackles there, the first down that would have been 3 yards short there. You're going to keep seeing that from Jeanty out of this. And I think that I'd rather have that one really good back than two okay backs. That's just how I look at it, right? It's worth it. We can get a 4th round backup to Jeanty and surpass what they have in Seattle, in my opinion. tight end's not even close. Bowers is the best tight end in the NFL when he's healthy. And then you have, I don't know, Noah Fant and AJ Barner up there. I mean, it's okay, but like Mayer is as good as anything they have as our backup. So I think he can kind of replicate a lot of the stuff that you saw inside, from Cooper Kupp and JSN. You're going to see a lot of that from Mayer and Bowers, and apparently some Trey Tucker as well, right? So, I think the ceiling for what we can do is higher because Mendoza's ceiling is higher. And I think the parts that we have are more explosive, right? Um, I think we haven't talked about Jack Besh, but he didn't start to come on until the end of the year. Didn't really get a chance to play because Pete Carroll hates rookies, apparently, with a passion. And so then once he got on the field, he started to make plays, and it's obvious. I'm not saying that he can be Cooper Kupp. He's not Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp understands what's going to happen on a play right before the snap, right? And he's like manipulating coverages with his release and stuff like that. He's not Cooper Kupp. But what he can do is he can go to the sticks and get a first down and body somebody. He can block, right? We saw that, right? So the elements of things that we got from the Seattle offense, which was number 3 in scoring, right? And then we look at the players that we already have here now. We haven't talked about anybody we're adding. And we can replicate or surpass what Seattle was doing with that offense. The triangle of players between Jeanty, Bowers, Tucker, right, Mayer, right? Like it starts to create a geometry problem for the defense, right? And that's, I think, what we're seeing here is that Kubiak is playing geometry, everybody else is playing checkers.
All right.
Put that way.
Yeah.
So,
one thing that I would like to add too. So I don't really see this as a complete rebuild because we kind of have the ingredients there. So Kubiak isn't coming to a fresh team that he has to create from scratch. So with that being said, now he has to just finish the meal. That's the best way that I could put it into an analogy there. You have the ingredients. We got Bowers. We're gonna get Mendoza. We got Jeanty. We got some pieces there. Now he just needs to just finish the meal.
Any other thoughts on this subject, Tom?
Yeah, I'm sitting here just kind of really agreeing with a lot of what you guys are saying. Like, yeah, you guys are kind of taking some of the words out of my mouth, and just the fact that we don't completely have, what I'm saying, what the Seahawks have, but we have the pillars, what I'm saying, to the bones to what I'm saying to the situation. And now he's coming in and just putting meat on the bones. You know what I'm saying? That's why we're looking at the backup, running back. That's why we're looking at the backup, tight end. We're looking at the backup, what I'm saying, in a lot of areas, because a lot of those areas we got the pillars for success, specifically on the offensive side. Now the defensive side, that I'm gonna have to push back on you. You know what I'm saying, Western, because I think the defense is definitely gonna be a rebuild. You know what I'm saying? Offensively, the pillars are there. So I think that might be the reason why it was appealing for Kubiak to come to the Raiders, is because when he looked at what we had, you know what I'm saying, specifically offensively, he's like, I think I got the pillars there. And then on top of that, we're not in a situation where we're strapped. You know what I'm saying?
No.
We got money and we got picks. You know what I'm saying? We got both of those. So
speaking of picks, we got the number 1 pick.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that too. You know what I'm saying? So we got money and picks, and he's like, okay, well, whatever I don't got, I think I can.
You can just buy
it together by week. Together.
Yeah, we can just buy it up. So like, we got the number 1 pick. We got a ton of cap room. We have a team that has a lot of the pieces, and there happens to be a quarterback in this draft who is Daniel Jeremiah's number one overall rated player in the draft. Not just quarterback, player. I don't know when was the last time I saw a quarterback as the top rated player in the draft by any scout. It's been a while. I got Mel Kiper comparing him to Peyton Manning. Like somebody else was comparing him to Tom Brady. But according to a lot of people in the media, we should trade that pick because we're bad. I thought that every team that picked number one was bad. Did I miss? Did they change the way they do the draft? Because I swore that like every team that was bad had. So their logic is we are so bad we shouldn't pick the best player at the most important position. We're not trading the pick. Not for anything. Just turn around and walk out. It's not for sale. We're sorry. There's nothing to see here.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
it's been a long time. We've been waiting a long time to get a quarterback. And man, that is a quarterback. So my thoughts are really clear. Twan, thoughts on trading the number one pick?
I see both sides, so I'm gonna go the opposite side. I think that we need to. Well, we don't need to, but this is the option. We can trade back, and the reason why I say we can trade back is because I don't see us not drafting in the top 10 next year. And because we're not drafting, because we will be drafting in the top 10, it will be in play for all of the quarterbacks that will be coming out next year.
That is an argument. The draft next year
there's
is
at
supposed to be
least
strong.
there's at least 3, 4, maybe even 5 quarterbacks that will be number one rated.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not number one rated. I'm talking about number
one
first round rated.
Right.
That we can pull the trigger on. You have Arch Manning, you have Lawrence Sellers. You can all those names. So
last year at this time they told us that this year was going to be a really strong quarterback draft because Carson Beck and Garrett Nussmeier and somebody else I forgot. So I hear your point, but that's a long way away, right?
Definitely. So I'm not saying I completely disagree, but I'm just saying for the sake of conversation.
Yes.
What I personally feel, what I can surely say I feel is that we're going to be drafting top 10 next year. So it's not necessarily like we'll be, 17 and we gotta
miss the quarterback.
We gotta F the picks
just to get back up.
You know what I'm saying? To get back up. I think we will be in the neighborhood, if not that one of those quarterbacks will land to us, you know what I'm saying, in that top 10. So if you are not one of the things they said about, the whole Mendoza thing is if the organization is not 100%, you know what I'm saying? If they say, hey, should we draft Mendoza? And there's some people like, hey, I ain't feeling it. Go ahead and trade up out of that. You know what I'm saying?
If they're going to see him closer than we will.
Yeah, if everybody in the room is feeling it, then hey, let's go ahead and pull the trigger. But what I'm feeling is that there might be in the second year of Kubiak, there might actually be an option for us to still make play at quarterback next year. So if we trade back and if we trade back and get somebody like a Ruben Bain, you know what I'm saying, to help out Max Crosby and that D line, and then go into next year, pull the trigger on the quarterback.
Right. If you do that, you're doing it with the Jets, and you would get like a boatload of picks, right? You'd get the Jets first round this year, their first round next year, probably a second, and maybe another third with a pick swap involved. Like it's going to be massive haul, right? So if you are all at all doubting Mendoza, then you trade the pick.
And you might be able to get a little, and I'm gonna say this the way I'm gonna say it because it is what it is. You might get really freaky in the second year because if you say you trade him in, you trade the pick for Mendoza, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the Jets, right? Do you think the Jets are going to be in the top 10 next year?
Yes, they're going to be
Most
bad again.
likely, right?
Yeah.
Even with Mendoza, right?
Yes.
So that means we have our pick that's in the top 10, and then you have another pick that's in the top 10.
And probably
So
2 high second round picks, our
we
own
can
and the
get,
Jets. Right.
yeah. So all that capital, and then where the Jets actually will place at the end of the year, we might be in a situation kind of like with Caleb. You know what I'm saying? Like we they traded and still was in the top 10. Matter of fact, they were number one
right
to make it work. So there's a lot of options there, but again, my rule would say in the organization, if there's some reservation, and there might be, trade up out of it,
right
and stack, because what positions we need, everything but kickers. You know what I'm saying?
Isn't Carlson a free agent? I believe Daniel
We
Carlson.
can live another day with Carlson. We can live another day with AJ Cole, but everything else needs something. So taking all that draft capital, yeah.
All right, Western.
That's my option. That I'm not saying. I don't want nobody to kill me. I don't want to lose 530 subscribers.
There are plenty.
I said Mendoza is no. I'm just giving the options because we got the controller, so we can play with it.
No, there's plenty of people who are all about the idea of just let's stack the picks. You know, no one player is worth what we could get for that number one pick. So, what is your thoughts on this? On the number one pick and what should do with it, Western? Should we trade the pick? Should we turn the card in now? What's your thoughts?
Everybody knows what that sounds means, right? That means Western's going to steal the show here. So please allow me to
do your thing, Western.
Please.
Do your thing.
So I completely understand, Chuan's point, to where he's saying about, trading our first pick, to fill the needs that we have on our team. And I also know other Raider fans out there are in agreement to what Chuan is saying. I am one of the people who is strongly opposed to that choice and that option. And I'm going to tell you why. So first things first, Fernando Mendoza is sitting on our lap, right? And to me, that is a guy you cannot miss out on. And the way that guy is a football nerd and he lives and breathes and eats football, there's no quarterback in the next draft that is going to have that same kind of mental stability and football passion, nerd-wise, as Fernando Mendoza. And what is our biggest need right now on our team? What is the biggest need? It is a quarterback.
Yeah.
It is God's gift that Fernando Mendoza is in our lap right now. So I'm turning in that card as fast as I can, as soon as the draft starts.
Yeah.
Putting my card on the podium, and I'm gonna just leave it there, and then, but that's what I'm doing, and and I also want to get on the aspect to where, okay, well, let's trade back, and then we'll get a guy on defense this year, and then the following year we'll get our quarterback. Now, here's the catch with that. Who knows if an NFL team would want to trade with us to get a quarterback if that top QB is going to be pick 1, 2, or 3, right? I don't think we're going to be that bad to where we're going to be in, to be in the top 3 pick for choices next year. And let's say the Jets, right? They have the first round pick next year, and we have draft picks. We're like, okay, look, we'll trade you some picks so that way we could get our quarterback the following year, right? But what if the Jets are like, no, we are in dire need of a quarterback also, and they're like, no, we are not going to trade this pick. So that's where my mind is on that, is because what teams would actually want to, trade with us if they also need a quarterback also as well. So that is not a guarantee. And I even kind of, entertain like, okay, well, maybe if I do trade the first round pick for this year, I want 5 first round picks. I want 6 first round picks. But then after thinking about it, like, no matter what the King's ransom is, the Fernando Mendoza in my eyes is so valuable right now that trading the pick is not even an option to me. And I believe, that, he is a poster child, for us. And he's going to do great things. And I also believe that the way he carries himself is also going to put us on the map more so by getting TV ads, commercials, all that, because he carries himself like a true gentleman. Now to the other aspect, to where the NFL media and outlets are like, well, the Raiders got to. I'm going to tell you why they're saying that. It's because we're the Raiders. If this was the Patriots and they had the first round pick, they'd be like, oh yeah, it's a perfect blah 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 blah, all this stuff. But it's because we're the Raiders. They don't want us to have good things, and they don't. They want us to fumble this so bad, so they'll paint a narrative that we're so poopy that they want us to, get all these other needs on our team, which I don't see, where they're at, because they're just hating on us. So that's that there. And then one more thing, I just want to go on about how Fernando Mendoza, how he fits into Klint Kubiak's Raiders offense, because he has high accuracy. He's a quick processing quarterback tailored for a modern play action heavy system, and he is more pro ready compared to his comparison, Dante Moore. And a system alignment in Kubiak's scheme, it thrives on a strong run game, reset motion, and play action. And Mendoza's ability to operate in this, system, it's going to help him reduce mental straining, and it maximizes his accuracy, and the play action and the explosive plays. And Mendoza will be having weapons, like Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty, allowing him to act as the main point of a modernized, efficient, and explosive passing attack. And yes, Mendoza will have to, adapt and adjust to a few things, right? But his ability to read defenses, that's key. His ability to read defenses and break them down like pie crust. He will quickly and deliver accurate passes, which makes him an ideal fit to lead our new revamped Raiders offense.
Yeah, I think we have to stick with the pick. I think if you hire a quarterback like coaching genius and then you don't pick the quarterback, you kind of messed up the assignment, right? Like, so I think long term, when you compare what Mendoza can become, right? I mean, the football IQ is obvious, right? I watched him on tape. He confirms leverage. He trusts the manipulation of the play. He hits windows in rhythm. He punishes hesitation by the defense. And this is a college player, right? You look at the Cal tape. The Cal tape is more impressive than even the Indiana tape. I started putting on the Cal tape and I was like turned into card. Some of these throws, I think he's special, and I think a special player at quarterback is not what you pass on hoping, you get it later, right? I understand the logic if you don't believe Mendoza's that good, but I think he's that good. So,
I agree.
People told me Bo Nix wasn't good too. So just, I don't know. keep that in mind. So, like,
so you're believing that he's Andrew Luck. You believing he's Trevor Lawrence.
I think he's a different type of player, right? I think that Andrew Luck was more physically gifted, as you know, he's more athletic, right? But I think that he's on par with where or above where Andrew Luck was processing, right? I think his arm strength, touch, timing are ultra high level. His footwork is pretty damn good for a college player. It can improve a little bit, which is scary, right? Because of how accurate he is now, right? I think he's going to give a Kubiak, and they're going to clean up his drops. Janoko is going to have him, the timing of the play and the drop, his plant foot are going to be timed up, and when he hits that back foot, he's going to know exactly what he wants to do because he sees it early, right? And he has the arm talent to make those throws consistently over and over again, and in the clutch. And then we see what he does, scrambling and making plays when there's nothing there, right? You see it a lot more on the Cal tape. It's extremely impressive to watch. I mean, so
Yeah, I think that, and it's just me thinking here. I think he's going to be better than Trevor Lawrence. And my best pro comp to compare him and the way that I see him, he's Jared Goff, but just faster.
The reason why I brought up those names is because those and it's not necessarily what they did in the pros. I'm talking about where they were positioned coming out of the draft. When Trevor Lawrence was on, was projected to come out the draft, there was no question that he was the number one guy. You know what I'm saying? Right. Same thing with Andrew Luck. When he came out, there was no question. You know what I'm saying? That he was the number one guy. So that's why I brought up those names, because when you can throw Peyton Manning up there, you know what I'm saying? It was clear that he was that guy.
That's
why
comp.
I'm asking, do you guys think he's in that same?
I think he's in the same class as Peyton Manning when he came out of Tennessee. I think it very much reminds me of how Peyton Manning looked in college, except, Peyton had the name because of who his dad was, right? And everybody expected him to be great. And this kid was transfer who had offers from Yale and Cal, and that's it at first. Okay, so he's more surprising. But when you just look at the tape and look what he's doing and look how he's doing it, he is mentally beating these teams. He knows what he's doing pre-snap because he knows what the defense is going to be forced to give him. And then he executes over and over again. So, yeah, I think, no, we're not trading the pick, in my opinion. And if that happens, I'd be extremely surprised because I don't understand why Kubiak would come here if he's not
going to trade the pick. There's no way. No way. There's no way. I will PayPal some random person, if we did, trade that pick.
And I don't know, because I right now I'm really just playing devil's advocate for the sake of, we all can't, give Mendoza fellatio, right? But in that, and with Kubiak, I think there's some insurance there with Kubiak. It's not necessarily like Kubiak has to come in year one and get it done. You know what I'm saying? I think they've already said, hey, you're our guy.
Right.
We're going to give you time to figure this out. We're going to give you time to build out this roster. And again, with that being said, trading that number one pick with him already saying, hey, you guys can fool around all you guys want. I'm still going to be here. You know what I'm saying? You don't got that pressure on him.
True.
there might still be that possibility that he does trade that pick, because if he's here, if he has a guaranteed year 2 to be here, year 3, do you really need to pull the trigger on that quarterback?
So this is where
we'll see how risky he wants to be with it, because you don't want to get cut out there like one of them coaches who decided to pass on that quarterback the first year and then you get into year 3 and you still can't find that quarterback and they're ready to fire you because you still haven't found that quarterback, right? So I don't know. Quarterbacks are hard to find, but it is true he does have a little bit of a leash here, so he could do some things.
Even with him having a leash year, I still don't see him trading that pick, because I believe that that's a major factor why he chose us, and also that's Tom Brady's guy also, and I know it's John Spiketek's guy too, and I know that those 3, Kubiak, Brady, and Spitek, they're not going to let that guy go.
Well, he's already probably looking for houses in Vegas. If I were him, I would go ahead and just get a realtor, bro, and come on the show anytime you want. I'm sure
being, trade. I just don't see our pick being traded. I just don't.
No, I don't think that's the way to go. I think there is something that we should trade on the roster or get rid of.
I know. What a great follow-up. What a great follow-up.
No, man. No, not Max Crosby.
Yeah, the Condor is flying out of here.
No. I know exactly where we're hot's going with this, and it's a great follow-up. I love it.
What we need to trade and get rid of on this roster is Geno Smith. Geno Smith has to go. I think that what he did, inappropriate gesture to the fans, the way that he carried himself, he cannot come back here. I don't think he can come back from that. So I think he's got to go. I think that it's possible that if we're smart and we do this right, we might be able to get him traded over to Arizona.
Man.
Arizona doesn't have too many quarterback options right now. Nothing that's really realistic. They're not going to be able to take a quarterback high. Doesn't look like Kyler Murray's going to be there. They need somebody stable enough to get him through things. So,
but is Geno Smith stable?
Listen,
I'm just kidding.
He's a veteran quarterback who was, like Black said, he was 50-50. It's a 50-50. He had more touchdowns and interceptions last year, and no O-line, a coordinator who wasn't coordinating. The head coach was trying to coordinate for the coordinator, I think, and somebody's son was the offensive line coach, and somebody's mama was doing, I don't know, but it wasn't good.
Our GM was our O-line.
Yeah, I don't know.
running the O-line. Look, hey, and that's why, and I hate myself because I've been sitting on this live, you know what I'm saying, for my own channel, because I really wanted to pose this question. So I'm going to pose it since I got my channel linked to this. Who put up the biggest middle finger? Because I think there was 2 people that gave a middle finger to Raider Nation and the organization. Let me say the names. My brother already said Geno Smith. That's one. Let's throw Max Crosby in that same. Let's throw Max Crosby in that same conversation, because he gave a middle finger. Look at me. He gave a middle finger to the Raiders organization. Oh, let's talk about the trampoline gate.
I like that analogy.
Ain't that a middle finger to the Raiders organization? Weren't some people saying that we were tanking for the number 1 pick and still got the number 1 pick? So who gave a middle finger to the organization? Because if you want to say Geno threw a middle finger to the organization, yeah, Max Crosby did the same. Because guess what? People of the Raider Nation need to understand. When you have a situation like that with Max Crosby, and Max Crosby has an injury, but Max Crosby goes out there jumping on a trampoline, and we have the number 1 pick. Don't you think that the NFL can be in investigation for that tanking situation? And what does that do? What is the penalty for tanking, ladies and gentlemen?
Lost the draft pick.
Lost the picks. So the face of our franchise, the person that everybody loves, the person that everybody has his jersey, is risking the organization and figuratively flip the bird. So whose middle finger is bigger? Geno Smith, who gets berated every week for his play, when we found out at the end of the season that Geno Smith and Spy Tech were working with this offensive line, something that they're not paid to do, to try to get this team together, and still have to go out there every Sunday and get killed by the Raider Nation? I'm not gonna lie to you. If I'm Geno and I had to go through all of that, yeah, you might have got a middle finger from me. But ask the question: who gave the biggest middle finger? Max Crosby or Geno Smith?
Chat thoughts? Who is
Let's talk about it. I'm tired of Raider Nation, and I'm using the word again. I'm tired of the Raider Nation giving Max Crosby fellatio on everything that Max Crosby does. When everything this offseason has been giving us the middle finger. When has he clearly said that he wants to be a Raider? I'll wait.
In this offseason,
I'm on the same boat as you. You know, he never. So Max Crosby. Okay, so let's start with Crosby first, and then I'll jump over to Geno Smith. So Max Crosby has never said that he wanted to stay and be a Raider, but a lot of people, you know, well, he has a Raider tattoo and he got a house in Vegas and all that stuff, right? But he never came out himself and said, "Hey, all those rumors are nonsense. I'm going to be here. Don't worry," right? So that's where I'm at with that. And then him jumping on the trampoline, I totally understand your aspect on that one. That was a great take. And also with the tanking bit, I think that we just sucked so bad that we didn't even need to tank. You know, like we were just horrible. It was, you know, bad play. And to, you know, Geno, okay, so let's just call it a spade here, right? He sucked, man. He sucked. Our O-line sucked. And who knows who was really calling the plays, whether it was Chip Kelly or Pete Carroll, you know, like who knows. But, you know, Geno Smith's best game was week 1, right? And after that, it's just been a steady downward spiral where he was just playing horrendous, you know. And we would be honestly lucky to trade him for anything, you know, trade him for an open bag of chips that has a quarter, you know, of chips left in the bag, you know. But I would honestly, you know, trade him, you know, to the Cardinals, which I see that the Cardinals seems to be the most likely place, you know, if there were to be a trade, you know, apparent there, because I don't know who would really trade for him aside from the Cardinals. And yeah, I'm on the boat also as well. It's where Geno played horrible. I didn't like how he conducted himself. No matter how many times you get sacked, hit, pressured, getting blazed by the media and the press and the fans, you're the quarterback. You know, that's not what you do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I want Geno traded. I don't blame him fully for his frustration, but I think the optics of what went on there can't be really recovered. from, right? I don't think we want to have another split fan base with a for a backup quarterback, right? Which is basically what would happen if Geno stayed. Um, you can try to make the trade to Arizona and see what maybe the Jets don't want to go quarterback early and they need somebody competent over there, right? If you can get a couple teams that are interested, maybe you can package him with a sixth and get a fourth out of it. You know what I mean? Move up a couple rounds and get rid of that contract. Otherwise, you can cut him and save about $8 million. You can also post June 1st cut him and save 27 million or something, whatever salary is, and then the rest 18 and a half gets pushed into 2017. So you pay the bill on the credit card later. So that's an option. If we make the roster moves that we are probably going to make, right? Geno's probably gone, right? And then, Colton Miller is sitting there, probably needs to be restructured. You can move some money around there to restructure his contract. Um, you know, Alex Kappa probably needs to get cut. Save us about $5 million for him to be cut.
Alex Crappa.
I don't think anybody's crying if he's gone, right? So you make those moves, and we're well over 100 million. If you post June 1st cut, Geno, we're talking, well over 125 million dollars in cap room. And you look at what this team needs. We talked about kind of the fits, right? Uh, Brock Bowers is already there. Mayer is already there. Jeanty is already there. We have Trey Tucker. You got the kid Thornton Jr. who's coming up. Jack Besh, right? They were invested in pretty highly last year at receiver. I mean, on the offensive side, we just look at what this team kind of needs moving forward into next season. I think the focus needs to be offensive line first, right? And then if a true kind of number one receiver would be a nice luxury. Twan, I think you were talking about focusing on some depth at the tight end position because of how much is going to be asked of the tight ends in this offense. Based on kind of what we saw from Seattle and what they were trying to do, what we have down on here, a roster currently, what do you think the focus needs to be in the draft and free agency on the offense side? Let's start with the offense. What do you think are the major needs?
Obviously everybody's looking at the quarterback, so let's just check that off, right? But behind that, I think in the draft, I think it's tight end and running back. Now, if you can land a wide receiver that you have, in the makings of a number one that, okay, I think he can be a number one guy, then you might want to go ahead and pull that. But I think with tight end, again, people are talking about, oh, this is going to be the third tight end. Well, now if you draft that tight end, then that you're not spending money for a veteran, so you're saving money. There goes my word, cheap labor. You know what I'm saying? Third tight end. So now you have all your tight ends under rookie contracts, very cheap. Same thing with your running back. We know that Jeanty is the number one running back. He's probably going to get the majority of the touches at running back. But if you have a running back that's under cheap labor, then you're not spending a veteran to be a backup that's not going to get that many touches anyway. So if you can save, again, now you got the tight end room all under rookie contracts, and you got the running back room all under rookie contracts, and then you might be like, hey, Twan, what's up with the free agency? What's up? Tell me about the money, right? Let's go ahead and follow the money. When you get that, when you have everybody under cheap labor, or when you have a bunch of people on cheap labor, then all that money that you have in free agency, then we're not spending that money on debt. we're actually spending that on the top shelf guys. We're talking about the top wide receiver. We're talking about the top pass rusher. We're talking about whatever, you know what I'm saying, whatever the trend is coming out free agency, we can make a play for whatever that top player is. And then we can really do a whole lot of crazy stuff, because now not only do we have the quarterback, which is the most expensive thing under cheap labor, we got our tight end room under cheap labor, we got our running back room under cheap labor, and the only thing that we're really spending money on is our offensive line. Which everybody is in. I don't think there's anybody out there that is not in agreement that we need to look at our offensive line in free agency. So if we take care of the line in free agency, then all that extra money can go to, it can go to the defense, or it can go, you know what I'm saying? It can really get some key guys to fill out this roster.
Right.
That's
because
why,
like you said,
yeah,
the defense is far away. What, you know what I mean? So being able to kind of take that money and fit it into, the offensive line rather than depth players that we need to make the offense function is going to be huge, because that defense is going to need a lot of infusion of talent, right? That's where I would spending my money on the offensive line and the defense. But let's talk about your thoughts, Western. What do you think about where we need to spend the money? What are the major gets that you think could really take this offense from, okay, we have the bones. What's the meat that we need to add to that? Like he was saying earlier.
So before I touch on that, I just got to go back to Geno here, because I just wanted to just, because I wasn't really done, with that yet. So I just, I want him far away as I don't want him close to Fernando Mendoza at all. That's not a great mentor, to have in a young quarterback like that. And I don't want him to instill or alter or hinder any progressive upside that Mendoza can transpire to our team. And I just, if you want a veteran quarterback to to mentor and teach, and lace up your rookie quarterback who's going to be the first round draft pick, by the way, do you really want Geno Smith doing that? I say no. And so with the free, agents here, as Chuan said, Chuan hit some good points there. I'm just a little, opposite. So once we get our quarterback, I'm addressing O line and D line, and also in the free agency, there's some players that I would like. So I was going through, all the free agency players that were available. So I'm gonna just say some here. So I said this on the last show. The Raven Center, Tyler Lindenbaum. He's one guy, that I would like to have on our team. And then for defense, we got to have edge opposite of Max Crosby, to help pressure and attack the O line and just the other team's offense as well. So my dream, pick would be Trey Henderson, right? But who knows? But I hope we do. But there's also Jalen Phillips on the Eagles. I like him too. And then for a wideout, this is where I think that we're going to fill in that veteran wideout. There. And so my pick that I would like to have would be Mike Evans. But the question is, would Mike Evans really want to come on a rebuilding team, or does he want to go to a winner? So there's that there. And I also like Romeo Dobbs, a lot too. I feel like he could be a number one receiver in our, offense as well. Corners, Tyreek Woolen, I like those corners with, height and speed, so that would be something that I would like. Or Jalen Watson, the corner on the Chiefs, I like him also as well. And then one also linebacker that I would like to get to, or actually two of them, Alex Anzalone, and then also we have Devin Lloyd, who's on Jacksonville too. So that's some players that I would like too. And there's also some kickers. Carlson. I feel like it's time to part ways with him. And I really like Joshua Carty on the Cardinals, and I like Matt Prater too because he's a solid vet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think, the offensive kind of additions that we add are going to really be focused on how Kubiak likes to run the offense, right? What he's trying to accomplish. And so if we add something like a Mike Evans, right, as a number one receiver, he's not going to cost as much as, an Alex Pierce or Pickens or somebody like that, right? But he's that kind of boundary receiver that can really make things difficult for safeties, right? Because they have to make that choice about spreading out wide or covering the tight end, right? So I think that's going to be a huge key, right? Are we going to be able to kind of add a receiver that's going to be able to be that big X guy, right? Um, some people think that's Thornton. Twan, what are your thoughts on Thornton, on adding the X receiver, that sort of thing?
I was choking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Thornton? And then
I don't think Dante Thornton's it. And we're not in, he can stay on the roster, you know what I'm saying, and try to figure it out, but I'm not doing what we did last year. And last year, and when I say that, some people don't realize what happened. There was actually a whole lot of time spent to try to pull something out of Dante Thornton. And every time we tried to do that, and even Geno tried to, feed him and try to give him the opportunities, he didn't step up in the way that we need him to do that.
right.
So he's here for what, another 3 years. He can figure it out, but I'm not investing him to be our number one. Now, if he all of a sudden wakes up in camp and starts being that number one, cool. That means that we got two number ones.
Right.
We need to bring somebody else in and not wait for Dante Thornton to come into himself. He has everything in the world. You know what I'm saying? He has the size, he has the speed, you know what I'm saying? All of that. He has the makings of, of a Megatron. He has the makings of a, Calvin Johnson. But if he does not want to be a Calvin Johnson, then he just can go ahead and be the fifth and sixth wide receiver on the depth chart.
Right. So I'm gonna read this comment. He says, "We don't need another tight end. We need a fullback in the Kubiak system. The fullback can, I think he's gonna say, play the third tight end role. I think that's what he's trying to say. Okay, in the Kubiak system, the fullback is not necessarily going to be playing the tight end role. I mean, we do need a fullback, but he can. I think that's something that we can easily get kind of later in the draft. There's not too many teams that even deploy fullbacks anymore, so it's kind of more of a specialized position. You might see Mayer do some H-back stuff, or Bowers do some H-back stuff in the backfield or whatever. But yeah, I think the tight end position is going to be important because injury. If you're running two tight ends all the time, you rely on two, and you only have two. This is a contact sport.
I was going to ask him that question when you were done. I was going to say, so with that being said, if we don't get another tight end and we're trying to run 12 personnel, what happens when Mayer or Brock Bowers goes down? Who's going to play tight end?
Right.
So that's why you need a third tight end, because you need that guy to be that reserve for whoever. It could be, Brock Bowers, he might be injured, and then we know Michael Mayer, He can get injured, but he also has some things up here that might change some things, right? We don't want to have a whole lot about Michael Mayer's mental, but that's something that you have to be prepared for,
right?
To keep that show, rolling.
Right.
I would like to have both. I mean, why not? If we could get that third tight end and get a fullback like a Kyle Juszczyk type. I mean, fullback, right? I would love that.
Well,
you might have your pick, right? I mean, it's not like they're drafting a lot of fullbacks, so you're gonna get one if you really want one. If you want to spend a 5th round pick on it or something, you're gonna get a good fullback. So
roster wise, is not going to come from the tight end room. That's going to be something from the running back room. So
running back room. Exactly.
If we draft, if we carry 4 running backs, what they'll do is end up carrying 3 running backs, and then they'll have one fullback. So
exactly.
It has nothing to do with the tight end room. So that's why you need that third tight end, and that's why I say get that third tight end in the draft, because it's cheaper to do that than to spend money on a tight end that technically you're really not going to use until someone actually gets hurt.
Right. So, like, I think we're all in agreement on offense. Free agency is really about the offensive line, maybe adding a weapon at receiver, right? Some depth at running back, tight end, fullback, that sort of stuff. But the main pieces, are kind of already there, right? We might want to make a splash at wide receiver depending on what we do. We don't need to spend $30 million on wide receiver and go get George Pickens, but we have the cap if we really wanted to do that, right? If you want to post June 1st, Geno, and go all in with $125 million and spend $30 million on a receiver and then spend $30 million on the edge rusher, you can do that, right? And a corner, right? To be honest, right? You go get a corner, edge rusher, all that stuff, and it's not $30 million the first year, right? We know the cap hit is not going to look like the average contract value, so that 125 goes farther than it looks, right? So then
I'm just gonna give a quick timeout here to Raider Ryan.
Raider Ryan
blessing us in the chat. Thank you so much for being here, Raider Ryan. I hope you're having a great Sunday, man.
Yes, thanks for coming through, Raider. He's always coming through, man. That dude is amazing.
So I have a quick question that I would like to shoot to you guys here. So I seen some people, some Bengals fans here saying, and I want to know what you guys think of this. So would you guys do Max Crosby for 2 first-round picks and T. Higgins?
Did you say 2 first-round picks and T. Higgins? Interesting. That's tempting. The issue I have though is that it's the Bengals picks, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a healthy Joe Burrow, right? If they're trading for Max Crosby, right, then does that mean they're bringing back Trey Hendrickson, right? And they're going all in, right? Yeah. So I don't think those are going to be very appealing picks, right? With a healthy Joe Burrow and they still got Jamar Chase over there, and
late first
picks. So then it's like I'm going to say no, because of who we'd be making that trade with, right? Those are not going to be premium picks, and so you're going to be getting replacement players at best late in the first round, like Max. So that's a no for me. That's a no for me. What about you, Tom? What are your thoughts? Would you make that trade?
It depends if Max Crosby is done giving middle fingers to the Raiders. I'm serious.
I hear you about the trampoline thing, man.
I am so serious on that. Like I gotta call it. I gotta call it the way I see it. And if Max Crosby, if every year, is going to be like the way he's acting of recent, acting like his favorite basketball player, James Harden, then I'll take the end of the late first rounds, because we gonna be in the top first round.
Mm.
So why not have some bottom of the first round and get some starters to fill out this roster along with the number one wide receiver?
What are you thinking, Western? Would you make the trade?
I at first I was like kind of like half and half, right? But I wouldn't make that trade just because I feel like we could get another better receiver if that's the choice that we're gonna go with and get first round picks. I've also been hearing that the Cowboys they if they retain Pickens, it'll be a Pickens and they'll send us two first. And then there's also I've the one that I like more to where we can keep Crosby is trading a fourth round pick to the Bears for DJ Moore, and that's something that I've been like seeing a lot about and that's something that I would honestly do.
Well, if we can make that kind of trade, so that's the thing. Like, I'd rather go into free agency, right, and just sign the receiver.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
Right, and keep Max. So I mean, at that point, like that's a no for me, dog.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so that's kind of like a worst comes to worst, type
Yeah.
thing. But I will say this here, Max Crosby's trade value will not get any higher, and
Yeah.
and if we're to do it, now's the time to like do it, and I ain't gonna get
Well,
into the whole.
this is my argument against the Max Crosby trade. Also, okay. Um, like my thought is we're going to draft Mendoza. This is the rookie contract window. Draft Mendoza, trade Geno, free up space, spend the money smartly, maximize those first 4 years. That's how you build a modern contender. Okay? Like waiting, there's no waiting anymore. Okay? Mendoza is one of the most ready quarterbacks I've ever seen out of college, so why would we wait? I think that we should go in right now. We have $100 million. Build up the offensive line. Go get some linebackers who are cheap. Go get you a number one corner. Go get you a safety, which is cheap. The only thing you're spending on defense is the corner. Offensive line, we need interior offensive linemen. Our tackles are pretty damn good, right? We can get a rotational tackle to add to Grant, and then add guards, centers, right? Depth there. Those are not expensive positions. We can fill out the interior of this line, fill out the linebacker room and the safety room, and go get a real corner, and all of a sudden you're competing and you're maximizing this rookie window, which is I think that's what we need to be doing, right? Rangy free safety, right? With some speed. Go get you a CB1 that you believe in, right? If it's Tariq Woolen, go get it, right?
Yeah.
Keep Stokes on this roster, bring him back, right? And add depth through the draft and through free agency of some other players there. One impact linebacker, right? Right? And Anzalone is a great idea at linebacker, right? I love that. Like come in, settle things at linebacker. You can bring back a Landon Roberts if you want to for depth, right? The what's the kid at linebacker right now? The Eichenberg, right?
Eichenberg.
Looks pretty good. I think he fits the system that we're going to be running pretty well at linebacker. So we just keep adding depth at linebacker, which is not going to be hard to do. If you go get somebody like a Devin Lloyd or a Kobe Dean, changes the linebacker room, right? But Anzalone is good and would absolutely add a bunch of depth. He's not going to cost you an arm or leg either, right? So I think when you really look at this team, I'm not sure this is fully a rebuild. I think it's an optimization hire for Kubiak. Like Kubiak, the Seattle defensive system that he's going to bring with him and that is going to be run underneath Rob Leonard. with the mix of what he learned from in Baltimore, right? I think it really fits, where we're at. I think he can use Jeremy Chin in some kind of special ways. So I really think if we focus our free agency on those kind of really important spots and maximize the rookie window, then, the Seahawks showed us what the system looks like with good parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked about our parts. We can easily, at the end of this offseason, have better parts than the Seattle Seahawks, who just won a Super Bowl, under the same system. Right? So, thoughts?
Real fast here. So I just want to get to Raider Ryan's comments here. But shout out to Raiders Rebel in here in the chat. Salute, brother. If you guys are unaware, he does Raider content too. Go check him out, man. He has great stuff. And Raiders Rebel, definitely all of us here got to get on the same panel, brother. So Raider Ryan, you are spot on. He's on fire. Spot on with all that, man, because I agree with everything you were saying, about Max here. I'm tired of the back and forth, BS, his nonsense that he does, right? And my biggest so strike one was the one when he opened his mouth, about oh, I want Antonio Pierce or else trade me. That shot down our chances of getting Jim Harbaugh, who I was extremely high on, and but it's just always something with him every year, and I'm tired of it. It's and I hate to say it, but it's just like, dude, shut up and tackle. Shut up and tackle, man. Dude, you're a great player.
Well, that's what he said he's doing this year.
And it's just like I'm tired of all the extra nonsense that he brings. And it's like, I understand, he's the cornerstone of our defense, but at the end of the day, nobody's bigger than the Shield. Nobody. I don't care who it is. Nobody's bigger than the Shield.
And let's keep like my brother Wester said, let's keep a spade a spade. Like, Max is on one leg. Let's put that out there. I don't care what surgery, I don't care what treatment he got, he's still on one leg. So you either got to get rid of him while the stove is still kind of hot in the market, or we're just gonna ride out with him. But we have to be honest about that. So you're putting a lot of and a lot on a pass rusher on one leg.
Mm-hmm.
How long is that going to last?
That's fair. So then this is what I look at it like this. What kind of trade would it be worthwhile making for Max Crosby, right? Like, what would, like I said last week, Godfather offer, right? I want a special player and 2 first-round picks, and then the Raiders came out and said that's exactly what they're looking for through Adam Schefter. So, like, the question is this, right? Like, is there an offer from a team that can afford Max Crosby and then has, is willing to give up that premium player and 2 first-round picks, right? Somebody got a defensive tackle that's disruptive, a young pass rusher, a premium wide receiver on, and I see these contracts too. T. Higgins' contract is huge, right? I don't want a big contract back. So I'm trading Max Crosby. I want a controllable contract, and I also want those picks, right? So we'll see if we find somebody who's willing to make that trade, right? I do understand your concern about injury and how that's going to affect him, moving down the road, right?
Yeah. So I actually did take my choice back. I would do that trade with the Bengals. So I'm on record saying that I would take that trade.
You convinced him.
And T. Higgins. I
would. Because when are you going to be able to get that much capital?
Exactly.
On Max Crosby, and then again, like I said, with the knee, I'm knock on wood if you with me. What happens if Max Crosby goes down again? He's not going to get this value again.
Right.
This is you talking about last chance. This is last chance trade.
Well, the thing about it is, I mean,
you can get something, but you're not going to get this much of a load. You know what I'm saying?
We'll dive into the defense and what Rob Ryan is going to be running. I mean, I'm sorry, Rob Leonard's going to be running.
Oh,
right?
You was about to make me happy. We about to have Rob Ryan. Let's
Stop
go.
it. Stop it. So you and Rob Ryan.
Now that's what you call a defensive coordinator. I don't know what we got. I don't know what we got now, but
I know
right there.
You was over here waiting for Jim Schwartz to come out of the woods.
If there was a poster picture of how a Raiders defensive coordinator would look, Rob Ryan is that.
Ryan is it. But I think that Rob Leonard is going to be running something similar to what we saw in Jacksonville last year, or up there in Seattle under McDonald, and we saw in Baltimore in like 2023 under Mike McDonald. And in that kind of defense, it's going to be about the D-line rotation more than one guy, right? So it's, if you're going to trade Max, maybe that's why it makes some sense, right? Is because you don't need to have that, dominant one player in this. You need a rotation of players. If you trade Max for that, then you go out and you sign Jalen Phillips and you bring back Kuntz and you, I don't know, sign somebody else, right? So you've got a couple different guys. What's your thoughts, Tom?
You telling me that we have a defensive coordinator that is diving and excited to have a defense that's going to have a rotation at D-line? Who do we have?
Listen.
When you said that, I'm like,
we don't have a lot of
nobody.
Which is why the trade.
Colts can't pass rush. Everybody wants to kill Tyree. All we got is Max Crosby on one leg. Who do we got?
So
please help me. Please help me. Help me.
Tyree had some improvement last year. He had some pressures, and he's getting closer. We'll see how that happens.
I'm tired of Tyree.
Kuntz showed up at the end of the season after having the knee thing. His pressure rate went back up. He was at like a 14% pressure rate near the end of the year.
Waldo.
Right. So if he can stay healthy, then he can do some things.
We gave him $12 million to be Waldo.
Snowden is a good piece that you can use, in a rotation, right? So you got Snowden, and then if Tyree, and then
who else?
Not bring back. You got to go spend some money just with the free agency.
That's why I'm like, what? Okay, I would love you. Look, the idea is lovely, and that's why it almost goes full circle. That's why I'm really good about trying to get some picks, because it's not necessarily full about staying put and filling out this roster, because it might look lovely on the offense, but that defense is going to look a whole lot different. And I go by grades. Okay, let's go grades. Okay, special teams. Okay, that's 33%. Offense, that's 33%. Defense would be 33%. I the 99 will equal 100. Okay, let's just 9 equal 100. Now let's grade special teams. They get 33.
That's a
you giving them 33? Okay.
The 30, 32.
Okay, but we'll say just 33 for the sake of conversation.
Yeah, right.
Offense, they getting a 33 with Kubiak. You think we will be okay offensively?
I think we'll be okay offensively. Yeah.
Okay, so they get a 33. Now let's talk about this defense. They getting a 33?
But see, this is the thing. Like,
yeah or no? It's a yes or no.
It's not a 33. Okay.
Okay, so since it's a 30, it's not a 33, it's a no. So that means when you look at the grade, 66. Let's go back to school. What is 66?
That's not passing.
That is
I think you just squeezed by with a D minus. Is that a D?
That is a D. That is a
Yeah, that's
big
not good.
no pause D.
So, but this is the thing: the
That's
defense
why we need to
actually
address this
outperformed the
defense.
offense last year. That's the crazy thing. The defense outperformed the offense last year. But when you look at the players, how did that happen?
But those are all guys we got at Rent-A-Center.
And I don't want none of them dudes back.
They were all 1 year rentals.
Devin White, I'm sorry, no. You look at the advanced metrics on Devin White and Jamal Adams, and that's a no for me, dog. We need to go ahead and let them go.
Everybody over there on that defense. There's only two people that I really would say, okay, definitely we got to bring those guys back. Everybody says Max Crosby, and I'm cool with Jeremy Chin. But
okay, see, I feel like Eric Stokes.
I mean, what else we got on defense?
Eric Stokes was number 1 in yards per route run against him at corner, so bring him back.
Okay.
So I think he played really well. But yeah, besides that, Chin played really well. There was some nice stuff that I saw from Eichenberg here and there, right? Like I said, I like what I saw from Charles Snowden. Tonka Hemingway had some plays where you were like, okay, as a rookie, I could see that developing. Adam Butler still played pretty well at defensive tackle, doing what he does. We need a real kind of space eater. We're kind of relying on Lualu or whatever, John Lualu. I think we can improve that. But like Stokes, Chin, right? Mal didn't play too horribly at safety. I like some of the plays he was making back there. I think in this defense being more in the box and less at free safety, which I don't know what they were doing, but they had him in the deep third more than I think he should have been playing in the deep third. We didn't really get to see Tristan McCullum very much, but that was a late pickup that I thought had an opportunity to do something on the roster, right? Lonnie Johnson didn't play too horribly when he came in. But he was injured for most of the year, so we didn't get to see him until the end. But like, there's a lot to be done on this roster. But the thing that needs to be done are things we can, the money you're going to spend is pass rusher, right? Bring back the guys that we have for depth. Go get you a corner to add to Eric Stokes and get some linebackers because we don't have any besides like Eichenberg. And, I can see Jeremy Chin actually moving into. He's already kind of a safety linebacker hybrid, and in this defense, I think they're going to use him more like that, and less as a safety. And so there's some of that. You're going to be in the nickel a lot, and you may see 3 safeties with Chan, and then two guys who can kind of interchange playing the deep pass. He's going to play split safety a ton. So really, one impact linebacker to go with Chan and the depth that we have at Eichenberg, and add some pass rushers, and we can change the defense around. Trading Max, I don't know about that, but I understand the logic of if you feel like he's a deteriorating player because of the knee, that's something we have to see from the doctors. You know what I mean? Team doctors would have a better understanding of that than we would, right? Or I do at this point, right? But I understand it. I understand people being like, I'm tired of it, right? I'm tired of all the crap, all the talk, all the, back and forth. But I mean, maybe that's just a part of having a really good player that other teams want, right? So, yeah. So, I mean, any other special thoughts you guys have? We're creeping up on 2 hours here. But yeah, just any thoughts on the rebuild, on what you would do with the cap space. Otherwise, because for me, it's get that cornerback, get an impact player in the interior of the line, get a linebacker, get an edge, right? Just keep adding impact players through free agency and then see how far that gets you. And you got a lot of money to do that, right? And then, yeah. Thoughts?
I would work so just how you said I would work on the O line and the D line first. and then I would try to get that number one wide receiver in agency. And then I heard you guys talking about re-signing guys. There's only three that I see in my eyes. That would be Devin White, Kuntz, and Eric Stokes. And yeah, we have so much cap room also as well. So we have like so many options that we could do, and I'd be happy if we get some of the players that I had on my list. You know, it'd be nice.
Hmm. So, I mean, I'm thinking if we are gonna be spending the money on on the offensive line and then the defense, and it's, like I said, it's over $100 million. That's why when you asked me the other day, what do I think, the win total is going to be? I think it's going to be in that 7 to or more range, depending on how things kind of shake out. Because I think we're a lot closer on offense. I know the offense is going to be able to kind of put our players in position to win. He's going to isolate the weakness on defense over and over again, right? And then defensively, I expect that we're going to spend most of this cap on the defense, but we'll see how we build it out, right? And it's going to be interesting to see how this offseason kind of plays out and where the focus is, and if we move a Max Crosby, right?
Yeah.
Right? Are we going to try to jump on the rookie window and take advantage of the fact that we have that 4-year period where, like you said, we have cheap labor, right, at the most expensive position, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, for me, that's kind of what I'm looking at next. I want to really take a deep dive into the defense next time we get together, so we can talk about the different aspects of the defense, the who we have on the roster, why keeping Max might make sense, or why trading him could be okay. But any other closing thoughts as we start to wrap it up?
I'm just kind of on the same boat to where I was last week on how do I think our wins and losses will be towards next or this season. I believe that minimum we'll win 5 games and the most 7. So I'm between that 5 and 7.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any closing thoughts, Twan? Anything you wanted to add? Any subject that we didn't talk about you feel like we really missed? No.
It's gonna take too long to break down, so I'll save my clips for another day.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll talk off camera about what that's going to be, and we'll make sure we put that in the next show so we can really get to it. But yeah, I mean, I think that just about does it for everybody, man. We covered it all. We talked about everything I wanted to kind of cover today, and we'll get a chance to come back and do it again next Sunday. But I want to thank everybody in the chat, Raider Ryan, everybody who showed up, and commented. I see the usual cast of characters, and it's okay if you miss the alarm. It'll be available for you to rewatch forever in perpetuity and all that good stuff. So
One last things
yeah.
here. Trade Geno Smith. Trade him. Get rid of him. 86 him. That's one of the first major improvements that will help our team. And Max Crosby, just don't be shocked if Max Crosby does get traded. That's all. I ain't gonna go no more further on Max Crosby trade stuff, but just don't be shocked, and
Mhm.
and we'll see.
All right. All right. Well, like I always try to say, man, life is hard. So stay positive, because what else are you going to do, right? As you're navigating through all this, important things that you read between the lines. You know? That's where all the truth lies, right? And, otherwise, just stay hot. Good night now.